Gonna record on this computer. All right, now here's where we just smile. There you go. Good work. Good work. Yes, multi-million dollar smile. Get it? Yes. Yes.
$1 billion smile.
$1 billion smile. I like it. I like your style. I like your style.
Billion.
Okay. Whoop boop. Interesting. Yeah, we got we'll tell you more about our Facebook stuff. Yay! 2 minutes and counting. So if you are tuning into the 5 Days of Focus live show as a replay, fast forward through the first like 3 minutes. We're just waiting on the interwebs to catch up. That's all. I do this with every live when we do the coaching or we have guests like, okay, the first 5 minutes, blow past that. Just fast forward through it. Oh, we have 4 people tuning in. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Monica. So Maggie and Monica help with our social media concierges. I have to say it like that every time, by the way.
Of course.
Concierge.
We take so many French words for granted in English.
Oh yeah, and butcher them. And
With-
absolutely butcher them.
That's what it's for. It's ours.
Oh.
You want your French words back? Take them from our mouths. Rendezvous. Concierge.
Rendezvous.
Yeah. Resume. Resume. Resume.
Resume.
Yeah.
1 minute and counting.
Revolution.
Oh.
We take so many French words. We were once like buddies. They helped us with independence, but
and here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Get into it. Okay. Yeah, 1 minute and counting. We're doing things. Oh my goodness, all the things. I like have a new hair clip, so I feel very fancy today. Because the goal is to keep from having a Jackson curl in the middle of my head, like circa 1985. So we just gotta pin it back.
Not the banging.
Right. It's 3:00 on the dot. Yes. Hello, hello, hello. I am Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, so that makes me a professional butt kicker. And if you've been following the 5 Days of Focus, you know that we just wrapped up a spirited challenge that, although it was labeled the 5 Days of Focus because we are overachievers, it went for like 10 days. It was a 10-day challenge. So if you missed out on the challenge, just know that we'll be doing another one in October. I believe we set the date as October 12th. I think Monica and Maggie will, get me if I'm wrong there. And so we are so excited to continue down the pathway of sharing really awesome content and really nurturing this community in between our challenges and making sure that you're getting the information that you need to stretch, grow, and build. So if you have any questions or you need any support from myself or the team, if your first name begins with the letters A through K, Monica is your concierge. Hello, Monica. If your first name begins with the letters L through Z, Maggie is your concierge. Hello, Maggie. And so I want to turn it over to our wonderful and exciting guest, Lisa Q. Fetterman. I'm going to read your bio and then we're going to jump in. I'm going to rapid fire question you, and it's going to be all the things. It's going to be magical. So say hello in the comments. Say hi to us. If you have questions, make sure that you comment along the way. We are closely watching that. So Lisa Q. Fetterman is an entrepreneurial leader who loves action and is curious about how to make technology accessible for everyone. She's a former founder and tech CEO. She had the first home sous vide immersion circulator machine on the market. I want to hear more about that. Lisa's been featured in Wired, Make, Forbes. She was named, 30 under 30, or were you 40 under 40?
30 under 30 for Forbes, The God, and Inc.
Yeah! I wasn't doing nothing under 30. But anyway. And you have pioneered amazing work in the food space. You launched several Kickstarter campaigns that have made over $1.3 million. You've worked in the top restaurants. You have 2 best-selling cookbooks, right? You're guest lecturing at UC Berkeley and Stanford, and you are advising Q Venture Partners, Green Cow, Social Impact Capital. Currently, you're chilling in San Francisco, right? Is that like, how's
That's
the
right.
weather
Oh yeah,
there?
just chilling with my 2 kids that I gotta homeschool.
Homeschool, chilling and homeschooling. And what I absolutely adore about Lisa is that not only is she a lauded entrepreneur, but she also supports and gives back to the entrepreneurial community, especially for us big vision entrepreneurs. So I am so excited to have you here, and I am so grateful to be in your orbit because you're stuck with me now.
I sure hope so.
Awesome. Yes, my big girl crush, everyone. And so then tell us a little bit about your background, because we were kind of chatting before we got on the live call that like very few people wake up like have lifelong dreams of being entrepreneurs. So kind of walk us through like what were you doing before you hatched your big idea and how that all came into to play.
I think I just knew. I mean, people didn't know what they wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do.
Ooh, yeah.
Got my journalism degree in college, and during college, I also worked for the top restaurants of the world. I worked under Maria Batali at Babo, at Jean Georges. If there was a Michelin star at that restaurant, I worked there. Like I love seeing how they put everything together, and they had this huge hulking piece of laboratory equipment called a sous vide machine that I eventually made for the home. But if we rewind and saw like what I didn't want to do is like I went to work at restaurants, and I really didn't want to work at restaurants. Like you would stand there for a good 6 hours chopping away or greeting people or unclogging the toilet. I mean, like all things that I'm very proficient at.
But not what you wanted to do lifelong.
Yeah, and then the other option was you sit in front of a computer and then you ask what you can do. I was shocked that people just sit. I asked people around me, I'm like, do you have stuff to do? They're like, no, I'm done with my work for the day. I'm like, so you're just sitting in front of your computer now? I'm like, I am shocked. They're like, don't you dare ask for more. They're like, don't like don't make it worse for us. They're like, hey, just do your work slowly and do it better. Check it. And I was like, I can't believe you just sit. You either sit or stand. Those are your 2 options.
Sit or stand.
Yeah. Yeah. Do intense manual labor or do intense like screen staring. And I was like, I don't get it. How can this be work for the rest of your life? And I just wanted out. I didn't know it was called entrepreneurship. It was even better when it was introduced to me as a startup. That was even more glamorous.
Yeah, very sexy term for it, right?
Yes, because it shows that you have growth. There's some people who call their businesses small businesses, and I would even be like offended when people called my business a small business, even though it was obviously
right.
But I would be offended. I'm like, no, I'm a startup. I'm in Silicon Valley.
I'm a startup.
Yeah, and we're funded by like Y Combinator. Do you know? Like,
Have you heard?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess my twisty path was like I was just interested in food and tech, and where the people were the smartest people in the room were, and I didn't want to sit in doing nothing or just do intense manual labor.
So then, like, tell us a little bit about the origin story. So, like, so you knew what you didn't want to do, and like, I think I did that process of elimination through. I think I'm on like my 5th career now, and entrepreneurship is that.
Mazel tov.
So, like, because I think there's a love story here that I want you to share, because it was like first date magic. Go ahead. Okay, I already stole the punchline on it, but tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a great date. I'm married to Dr. Abraham Fetterman, Dr. Abraham Jacob Fetterman, PhD in astrophysics, plasma physics, and we met at the gym. The gym folks set us up, and then we went on our first date. I memorized from Wikipedia what plasma physics was, and just like regurgitated to him. At the time, I was like, 21? And I was really ready to have a husband, because after I graduated college, my parents were like, when are you going to get married? And then I'm like,
yes.
to who? Are you?
And for what reason now?
Yeah. Then I was like, okay. I was like, I can get married. I met him. I was like, oh, PhD in plasma physics. I'm like, this is what I want. So then on the date, I was like, I made sure to be prepared, like a job interview. And he was just very confused. He was like, okay, but flattered. He's like, oh, thank you for knowing what I do, but like, what do you like? What are you interested in? I'm like, well, I'm really interested in sous vide machines and immersion circulators. I used to work at restaurants that had these and I want one myself, but they're $1,000. And he's like, well, we could just make one together. So we ran to the hardware store, which is open 24/7 in New York City, which is where
Of course it is. Everything's open 24/7 in New York.
Exactly. Huge culture shock when I came to Silicon Valley. But we were up until 4 a.m. making this machine, and we made eggs. And then I was like, holy crap. Like the yolk was squishy and it was solidly formed almost. So it was kind of like a gel. And then the whites were all liquid. That's when it dawned on me that temperature control really, really matters. That nobody knows that actually the yolk cooks at a lower temperature than the whites because you just straight up boil that egg. But with precise temperatures, you can develop exactly the texture you want consistently. And that's how Namiku started.
So, okay, I'm going down a pathway. Let's talk about the perfect egg. And I'm going to share something with you, and don't judge me too harshly. But I am obsessed with making the perfect boiled egg. I'm like obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with making perfect sunny side up eggs. But here's where you can judge me. I don't eat the yolk.
Oh.
Yeah, like I'm obsessed with it being like perfect, the perfect texture. Like I'm obsessed with it. But then like I go through all of this to make it absolutely perfect and don't even eat the yolk.
Why don't you eat it?
I don't know. I just don't think I like the texture. I think it's like the same thing with avocado. Like I'm gonna say something controversial. Feel free to chat me in the comments. Avocados are overrated. It's just texture for me that is like, and I can't. There was no offensive childhood trauma associated with the egg yolk or the avocados, but those that I know of, right? It's buried deep within my psyche. But anyway, so. What are your tips on making the perfect egg? So now that I've gone down that pathway around eggs.
Well, obviously with sous vide, a great way to make an egg is to take it up to 80 degrees and leave the egg in there for 12 minutes. And then the whites will be fully formed and you'll get a very liquidy yolk. Eggs are the perfect sous vide food because they already come pre-vacuum sealed.
Right.
Drop them in. And then I really like 5-minute eggs. You know, like you boil it. Once it's boiled, you turn off the heat, leave them in there for 5 minutes and take them out and rinse them in cold water. And then I just like dip asparagus in there.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about hollandaise sauce at a later date. So like you had this magical evening and that set you down the pathway of, hey, this is a thing. So at what point were you like, we should do a Kickstarter?
When we were like super broke and I don't know, 25K in credit card debt. And I already talked to 80 investors and they were like, hell no, we're not funding you. First of all, you're doing one of the hardest startups known to man, which is hardware. And you're untested. Like you've never had a company before. You don't have a hardware background, even though your co-founder, husband, baby daddy is like a freaking PhD in astrophysics, which only 7 people get from Princeton annually, by the way. Like that is the hardest program. And they're like, yeah, but there's no way we're entrusting you with like a few mil. And I was like, okay, well, I know people want this. And before this, we had activated a huge community across the United States. We traveled across the United States to teach people how to make their own DIY open source sous vide machines and maker spaces. So I was like, I know people will definitely want this. They would get a lot of value with it plugging it in. So we decided to make a Kickstarter because we were absolutely desperate for money. And unbeknownst to me, I had a very activated community there were just friends that I talked to. And Kickstarter's algorithm favored us because all those folks came to our page in the first 12 hours that our program, that our like little campaign was on. And that tipped the scales for the algorithm and put us on the front page of Kickstarter at that time in 2012. which was a huge time for Kickstarter. It was like the
Right,
time,
right, right, right.
yeah, people were getting like $8 million campaigns up, and it just blew up through that virtuous cycle. But also through like this thing, which I now know is like should be the playbook for everybody raising on crowdfunding, is that you get hot fast, and then you keep the momentum going through community outreach and earned media.
Oh yeah. So what was your I know that we have a couple folks in the community that are looking at crowdfunding as a source of, you know, kind of building their businesses. What were, like, if there were three things that you would tell someone who's thinking about a Kickstarter, what are the three best practices you would tell them to not necessarily skip the line, as we say, but like what were the three big takeaways for you during that Kickstarter campaign?
It was that if you just launch a Kickstarter, it's not going to be successful. Just like that.
Right.
The Kickstarter doesn't do anything to help you. Unless you know someone within Kickstarter. And even if you do, it's not like they can just push you to the front page.
Right.
That's not how it's run. You have to have an existing engaged community. You have to already be running a newsletter. So step one would be to get a newsletter and community for your own.
Step one, newsletter, community.
Yes.
That, like what you're in right now.
And then step two, have a really good plan for your videos.
Okay.
It would usually, I would say, take a month. The first week you write your script. The second week you film. The third week you edit. And the fourth week you circulate to your friends and ask for advice.
For feedback. Okay.
Yeah, and then do little tweaks. Tell them, like, I can't edit it that much more. So don't tell me to like scrap the whole friggin' thing, but like tell me like what you think. And then don't take too much feedback. Right.
Because everybody's gonna have something to say. Everyone's gonna have something to say. Yes.
Yeah, it has to feel good for you. And then the third piece is get as much earned media as you can. Reach out to journalists that you think that would be interested in this. And one good way to do that is you can Google news articles, go into the news section that are close to your product. Let's say you're making a electric clothes hanger. You can put in like electric closet, desk organizer, and then see people who have written about organizers or home stuff or home goods.
Right.
And then reach out to those journalists. And most of them, if not 100% of those journalists, have their own Twitter account. And I normally reach them out to Twitter and pitch them there. And I would give a major one, something called an exclusive. And I would embargo it for everybody else to come out after that major paper.
Lisa, you're speaking all my languages. I don't know if I shared with you, previous to being a professional butt kicker, my background is in tech public relations. So like, yes, an exclusive, embargo it, yes.
And you can do all of this yourself.
But with that said, I think, yes, you can do it all yourself, but you have to give yourself grace and space. You know, I've worked on Kickstarters on the brand side, but also, you know, kind of with my clients. And like, oftentimes it's like, yeah, you're not going to get this done in 3 weeks. Like, give yourself the runway to be successful. And so like, yeah, you have to write the script, you have to do all these things, but, you know, don't lie to yourself that you can get it done in 2 to 3 weeks. It does take a little more planning than that to have a successful campaign. How do you nurture the conversation after the big splashy moment though?
What do you mean?
With the Kickstarter, like once it goes live and it's you know, you have your big unveiling, how do you keep that conversation going? Throughout the whole campaign?
Well, then there are it's like a virtuous flywheel at that point. Okay. So you can be like, hey, we're the first ever Kickstarter to reach 200K in the first 20 minutes, or we're the first ever something. You'll find a story if you're successful in your Kickstarter. They'll just be like, we had some famous backers like Renee Redzepi. We can make a story out of that. Renee Redzepi backs this new kitchen gadget that if you're eating a Noma, you're gonna be eating Namiku food.
I love everything about this. Get into it. So it is not only there's ongoing storytelling that you have to do to keep it moving forward.
For sure, and you have to look for those, and they'll come to you if your thing is successful. If not, then it's like beating a dead horse. Yes, success begets success.
That's a quote. Could somebody put that in the comments? Success begets success. Let's talk more about that. So then you were on Shark Tank, right?
That's right.
So what was that experience like? Because we've heard this from like a couple of our guests that there's a whole preparation leading up to, like, how was that? What was the energy like preparing for Shark Tank?
It's like preparing yourself for a deposition because
Really?
you have five very well educated and intense and opinionated people sitting in front of you who are going to rapid fire you questions. And some of them can't be answered incorrectly. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they say there's no wrong answers, but there are.
There are.
And you're going to be scrutinized not only by them, but by the nation of America. Like, they have 7 million viewers at any given time on their
Right.
So like, you are really feeling it, and that light is very bright on you.
Oh yeah, studio lights are hot. But so, question for you. So then, during that, did you hire a coach to prep for Shark Tank, or how did you do your preparation for it?
Well, one of my girlfriends was Sheryl Sandberg's media coach, and
Cool.
she gave me a sick discount. It was I think she charged me like $100 an hour to coach me, and like the first session was free. And I was like, I love you, queen. Yeah, like, so she used to work for Lucasfilms, and then she worked under Sheryl Sandberg, and then she coached me as if like I was the CEO of Facebook going on. And
I love it.
yeah, and she like there was one thing that really surprised me was when she took a bunch of like post-it notes and then drew faces on them and then put them like the sharks, and then I had to look at each one after I finished a complete thought.
Oh, you had to do the lock eyes, the lock eyes.
That's right.
Did you do the head nod to affirm all of your statements?
Actually, I didn't do that because there was, it just like too many women do the head nod too hard. It just like looks too agreeable. You know what I mean? It's like, you can just smile. I learned the talk louder than you're comfortable with and speak more slowly.
Oh yeah, public speaking. Yes, you have to slow it down, especially if you're asking for money.
I learned what to do with my hands.
Where'd you put them?
You just put them on your sides, like this.
I love the demo.
It's not intuitive.
Well, like, I never know where to put them.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm excited. I am a flair kind of gal. So, oh my goodness. So then, what happened post Shark Tank? Where did that, was that like the hockey stick for you all? Like, what happened after the Sharks?
It was we made 500K in one day that night, and like within the hour of it posting. It was quite nuts.
Oh, and then were you like prepared for that influx of interest, or do you kind of like prep in the background?
Yes.
Awesome.
Totally.
So then, at what point did you start writing cookbooks? So is this all happening at one time? Like what was the sequence?
Yeah, the first cookbook took us 3 years, and then the second cookbook took us 6 months. That's just
so was it the preparation to write, or was it just like the negotiation part of the cookbook that took the first one so long?
All of the above. You just have to start from scratch, and you don't know where to go. First, you have to get an agent, and then you have to convince the agent you're worthy, right? And then you have to like pitch a bunch of publications. And then you have to work with the publication. It's a lot of ramp up.
So how long were you thinking about writing the cookbooks before you actually were like, now is a good time?
Day one. I mean, we're a cooking company. It was like, why don't, like, that's the first thing anybody asks you to do. Like, people will give you so much unsolicited advice. Like, you don't think about it. Like, oh, you guys should write a cookbook. I'm like,
yeah, with what hours?
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, you know what this would be great on? I'm like, tell me. They're like, I got a great idea for you. Go on Oprah. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'll just call O up right now. Hey O, it's Kay. What we doing?
Yeah, they're like, what'd be great? You should pitch Martha Stewart. I'm like, can you connect me? Can you do an intro? I'll send you a blurb.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, go ahead, and I love an e-introduction. Well, that's the really interesting thing. So let's talk about that advice piece, because I feel like, especially whenever you're doing something new, whether it's, launching a new product within your company, or you're taking on another project, or you're brand building, you get a lot of that unsolicited stuff. So how do you filter that out? Or like, where do you draw the line between this is helpful and this is annoying?
Oh, well, I actually appreciate it. I actually appreciate it all, and then I can make fun of it later in my head, or in that moment, straight up,
Mhm.
just make fun of it in my head. But I just like think it's I think anytime anybody's engaged with you, it's a net positive. So I do my best to be polite. They do mean really well, or
Yeah.
or they're not like listening to you, and they have something to get off their chest. They're like entrepreneur fantasy. They want to like project onto you. And at the end, I just look at them as a potential client or customer, and I'm like, yes, ma'am.
So when you were first starting out, did you get a lot of, what are you doing? Like, did your parents go, what are you doing with your life? Like, did you get any of that?
Yes, and all of it stopped when we made $1.3 million on Kickstarter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I got the what are you doing? Get a job. Right?
I got that a lot. I think I got one of my close friends too at the time, who worked for George Soros. She's an incredibly accomplished businesswoman who's
Mhm.
had to do the gauntlet of ladder climbing, who I looked up to. She was like, you're doing this, it's really risky. And at the end of the day, it's okay because like your husband can still make a lot of money. He's a high income, like he has high income potential. I was like, girl, what just came out of your
Like, did you
mouth?
just say that to me? Like, how is that helpful?
First of all,
It's
thank you.
okay to fail.
Ew, what the fudgy the whale? Yeah, that's like
Fudgy the
girl.
whale.
Yeah, I'm like girl power. I'm like, what the fudge?
Oh
She
yes.
meant she meant so well because she was like, if it fails and you're burnt out, you can relax. Your husband's got this. But I was like, what did you do with your life? You know,
Oh my goodness.
like
I think one of my favorite ones recently was, oh, I watched your little videos.
I watch your little videos.
And
Thank
they're like,
you.
oh, thank you. That's all I can say was thank you. Like, thanks for watching my little videos. So like, um, I feel like, one of the things that I really love about this community, and especially like how we build the practice, is that we really enjoy working with high performing type A's. And as a high performing type A, we're overachievers. So how are you balancing writing, pitching, product development, all of the CEO-ness of your company? How did you balance your time?
Oh, when I was running Namiku, I didn't balance anything. Something just burned to the ground, burned to a crisp. And the thing that I was working on would be like super fucking sick and fly. And then you would look at another corner of my life and it would be just a disaster fiesta. Like nothing worked in another sector, but like this sector, mwah. It's like when you go into somebody's house and they just clean the living room and
Right.
you're like, can I use your bathroom? And then you
And
go
they're
into
like,
the hallway and you're like, ah!
ah, they just stuffed it all in the hallway.
That's right.
Well, like, I feel like there's been times where like things are firing in all cylinders. Like, professionally, I am crushing it, and my personal life is a shit show. It's
Wow.
like something going on in the background. And so like, where do you have any productivity hacks that you would share, like when there comes a time where like there's only so many balls you can keep in the air? So what are some of your productivity hacks to kind of keep things moving forward?
My number one productivity hack is have something to take care of that is urgent and not your business. Like for me, it's my children.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a CEO of Coke that does the balls in the air speech where he said, you're juggling all these balls. All of them are made out of, all of them are rubber,
Mm-hmm.
except one that's made out of glass, which is your family, your kids,
Mm.
your mental health, your physical health. If you drop your physical health and your mental health, they shatter. There's no way you can put it back together. But
Ooh.
if you drop like a biz dev deal, or like if you drop this round of fundraising, it can always bounce back,
Mm-hmm.
and it will bounce back. But but if you drop your family, it's going to shatter. So if I just always prioritize my family and my friends
Mm-hmm.
above my work, and they were completely urgent. Like I would shut down a meeting and just like run if my one of my girlfriends was like, I need you like my my boyfriend dumped me, I would go straight to her with alcohol and a huge doob. and I think that was incredibly helpful, that I prioritize those things, because your success professionally bottoms out incredibly quickly.
Oh yeah. There comes a point where it's never enough, right? Like, oh my goodness, that just like that was I hope we put that in the comments. I can't even, like, my comments aren't updating right this second. But like that is so, when I step back from it, and I had a wake up call from a health standpoint in 2018, where I was side hustling and trying to do the things, and I was staying up all night working on stuff, and my body let me know that's not what we're supposed to do. And so like now, if I need a nap, I take a nap. And like just the idea of, everything else will bounce back, but those things that are really, really are truly important in life, treat those as if they're fragile. So thank you for that, because that just like, I feel things. Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about goal setting, because this is one of my like favorite topics. It's like my jam. So like, as you are kind of, when you think back over your journey thus far, how have you previously set goals? Has that changed now that the world has changed? Kind of tell us about like how you set and reach them.
My goals would be pretty vague, or there would be more of a North Star and a general direction. It didn't matter to me how I got there. So I would say like, hey, this year, I want my revenue to be like 3 million annual run rate for this sector of my business. And it didn't matter how we got there. It could be like a big deal with Samsung, or it could be that we sold these units individually. We would explore them all. So I set rigid goals, but left a journey there flexible.
So like the flexibility, and I think that was like a big learning for me during the pandemic, zombie apocalypse. I don't know what we're gonna call it now, but like the world went topsy-turvy, and I didn't change my goal for the year. It was assessing the how. Like, it wasn't the what. It was like, okay, so we have to be a little more flexible. What does this look like? What does it look like if we go completely virtual with the business, right? So how has that kind of shown up for you with, the world changing? How has that changed your how process, or your process to achieving goals?
In December of last year, I wound down my business of 7 years. And then this year was supposed to be like, heal myself.
It was your sabbatical.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't take that long of a sabbatical. I do have to get back to work. So I've been helping a bunch of startups.
Oh, cool.
With marketing, with earned media, with pitch decks, whatever they need. And then I've been looking for a job. So this year's goal is to get a jobbo, a real jobbo, for the first time in 10 years.
And how are you doing with that process?
I think okay, as well as you can in pandemic. I don't know. Anything goes right now.
Yes.
I interviewed with a company for like 6 months, and I haven't interviewed before in my lifetime. So I was like, maybe this is normal, and this is a really nice company. So I want to work here. So maybe I should do that. And I told some of my girlfriends, and they're like, what the hell? Like, you got to have multiple players going. And I'm like, but I'm a loyal girl. But yeah, now I'm on my hoe grind on the street. I'm like, hey, who wants to give me an offer letter first?
Like, highest bidder.
Exactly.
Okay, so can I just tell you, I like lightly cyber stalked you, so only lightly. And one of the things you do on Instagram that lights my soul on fire are your ASL videos.
Oh, thank you.
So like, what prompted you to start doing those? And tell everybody what they are first.
Oh, okay. So ASL is American Sign Language. And what I do on Instagram is that I turn popular songs into ASL songs. And it's just some pandemic fun. I've already gone through my baking phase, the pandemic.
So you did the sourdough bread already.
plans for days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so lucky. I'm very privileged, like I have all these nice things going on. Like I need to learn another skill. And I was like, what
Mm-hmm.
about ASL? Because ASL, what I like about it is that you can see each other across the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And while you learn it, you also learn how to read people's lips, and you
Oh
learn how to
wow.
read body language a lot better. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to be very fluent in ASL when I had a deaf friend growing up, and I volunteered at Helen Keller National Center. And I just love when you translate ASL into song, you get a lot more artistic license with
Mm-hmm.
your signs. They don't have to be exact or precise. You don't have to have all the consonants. It's just super fun, and people who don't even know ASL can understand what you're doing.
Right, right, right.
With your face and your hands, like it's just good fun, and it's easy to look fluent in those 15 seconds that you do those videos, so you feel incredibly accomplished.
Oh, I love them. I was like, oh, this is amazing. But it also was like, this is an extension of storytelling.
Mm.
And like, I feel like with the journalism background and even like your story arc, it's an extension of that love of storytelling. So like, thank you for sharing those. Like,
Thank
I
you.
think, when you can share something that you're passionate with without fear to the world, that like, that just lights me up. So let's talk about your next life. And so we're in your next life. So when you've kind of, I know that you said last December you made the choice to wind your company down. So
Mhm.
what was the rubric behind that, and how did you make that choice, and when did you know it was the right time to do that?
Well, there were certain milestones that we needed to reach as a company to become profitable, and to keep everybody on the team interested in continuing with the company. We
Mm-hmm.
At the time we had a lot of competitors, and I'm speaking in a very reasonable and even tone about our logic.
Right,
And at the time, like the inner turmoil is like
right, right.
through the roof,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the psychological safety of your staff members. They
Mm-hmm.
they are they can tell when something's not right. So you include them in conversation with answers.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not including my employees when I just have questions. That's not a good look. That's not a,
Right, 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 right.
and it makes everybody not so productive. So any chance to like salvage your company is out. We wanted to reach some certain goals in order to get
Mm-hmm.
fundraising or become profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And quarter over quarter, we saw some like significant gains,
Mm-hmm.
and growth. But along with growth comes with additional costs. And
Right,
at the end,
right.
we did like a cost analysis, and we talked it out, and we made a decision together to wind down. And
And so
once
like,
that was, and
I
once
think
that
this
was
is,
done, oh sorry.
no, I was thinking that that's such an incredible leadership moment.
Uh, I'm not sure my employees would think that. No, but thank you. I tried. It's hard. I tried my best. I don't think it felt like the best, but
Mm-hmm.
we did set goals, and we were clear, and people had access to how what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
cash, like the cash we were earning per day, hour by hour on a graph. So we knew what was up.
Well, I think that that transparency, that I think that's sometimes like, when you're in the when you're at the helm, you can't share all of the inner turmoil, because that bleeds out into the team. But you do have to be clear about what's happening. you know
Sure.
so I applaud you for that transparency. So I know we also teed this up, in addition to kind of job hunting, you have another side hustle on the horizon. So you want to share a little more about that?
Oh yeah, I'm teaching storytelling to
Yes.
yes, with my boss from 10 years ago, Larry Smith. You may know him. He is Piper Kerman's husband. Piper wrote Orange is the New Black. And 10 years ago, I worked for this literary magazine where we did all kinds of storytelling and have tons and tons of New York Times bestsellers based on it. A lot of great people came out of it. Like tangentially, a part of our circle was Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love.
Hmm.
And a lot of badasses went through Smith Magazine, and now we go to corporations like Dropbox or Levi's, and we teach people how to harness this storytelling energy and fill themselves with this storytelling kit that we give them with 6 words. Like, you can tell your story in 6 words, and that leads to a lot more conversation, a lot more openness, and that's able to sometimes also destroy biases around you. So it's a little bit of diversity and inclusion. It's a lot of storytelling and a lot of community building.
Now I'm obsessed with, well, what are my 6 words? Now my mind is racing. Like, what are my 6 words?
Yes!
We're coming back to it. So, lightning round. Here are my lightning round questions. What is your signature dish? Like, what's the thing that, like, if you were expressing love through food, what would be your signature dish?
Shashuka.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What would be your last meal? You know, like if you were like on death row, you know, and you had to choose your last meal, what would you eat?
Something so delicious it kills me.
Before they put you in the chair.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I would order something really complicated so that I could delay it. Like, I'd like hand-pulled pasta. So we have this saying that leaders are readers. What are you currently reading? What's on your nightstand?
The library.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
It's I forget what her name is, but I'm trying to read now books exclusively written by women.
Okay.
Yeah, or men who are not white.
I like it. I like your style. So then this is how we're landing the plane. What is the advice you would give this community of goal getters who are ready to next level? What's your advice for them?
Your network is your best asset.
Okay.
If you are feeling like you're stuck somewhere, go talk to a friend. Mm-hmm. Go talk to a friend you haven't for a long time. Go be unproductive and call that person and reach out, because you never know what's going to happen. Like, they'll end up helping you in the future. I guarantee it. It all comes back around. Your network is your best asset. And if you just feel exhausted, you don't want to continue like the nitty-gritty work of building a deck or making a spreadsheet, and you're just stuck, call one of your friends. It's going to help you out more professionally, much more than what you're doing right now.
I love it. Thank you for that. Call your friends, your network, nurture your network. So thank you so much for joining us. This was like, you've inspired me. Thank you for pouring into us. And like I said, you're stuck with me. And so I just want to thank our lovely audience that's been tuning in. Oh, Maggie says she's also fluent in ASL, so I got to connect you with the amazing Maggie. Hold on, I'm going to check the comments really quickly. Were there any questions? I think we got them all. There, Maggie made hoe grind a hashtag, just so you know. Your network is your best asset. So with that, thank you for joining us. I want to thank everyone that tuned in. Once again, I'm Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Let's get after it. All right, so I'm going to stop the live. Hold on. The live stream. Okay.